welcome to episode 1 of 742 Evergreen Terrace, the Simpsons podcast. Or a Simpsons podcast, however you like to.
No, it's the Simpsons podcast.
The Simpsons podcast. Quick introduction and explanations as to why this podcast. So my name is Richard. I'm sat here with my best friend Tom.
Ew.
And there are a few things that we bonded over, let's say. One of them being wrestling, one of them being sports, and probably something that we basically revolve our whole conversations around is The Simpsons. We're often always quoting it. We use it in our conversations and jokes all the time, like I said. So we have decided to do a podcast where we will rewatch every episode of The Simpsons, critique them, explain the plot a little bit, little things that we may have noticed, maybe some trivia facts in amongst there as well, who knows. But yes, this is our watch through of The Simpsons from right back from episode 1 until we get to the tosh that is modern day Simpsons. Unfortunately, we will get to that. I know, but the people demand it, damn it.
Do they?
I don't know, maybe. And maybe there'll be some other surprises thrown in along the way, who knows. But yeah, as I said, my name is Richard. I have been a Simpsons fan for as long as I can remember, really. I loved it from the first moment I saw it, the first moment we got Sky TV. And I wanted to watch The Simpsons, so I've been a huge fan of The Simpsons my whole life. So this is something that I'm really excited and really looking forward to doing. And I get to do it with my best friend, who is also a huge Simpsons fan. So yeah, Indeed. Tell me a little bit about your background, Tom.
My background or my background with The Simpsons?
With The Simpsons,
The Simpsons, yes.
When was the first time you got Sky?
I mean, I'm not totally sure about that. So I vaguely remember watching The Simpsons when I was a kid, the early episodes, obviously, because I remember the first episode, 89, 90?
89. I mean, you count the Tracy Ullman show, which we're not going to cover here because, in my opinion, that's not The Simpsons. It's when The Simpsons started, but it's not The Simpsons, you know.
Yeah,
Plus, it's very difficult to get hold of in the UK.
So I do remember watching those early episodes. I remember having a Simpsons video game as well on the Amiga.
Ooh.
Back in the day, I couldn't tell you what it was called. But yeah, I did have a Simpsons video game on the Amiga back in the day, so that would have been early 90s, I imagine. And I remember one holiday I went on, I can't remember which one it was, but I imagine it was early 2000s. I bought a book in the airport with just every Simpsons episode up to that point.
Like an annual?
Kind of. It had like every like description of every Simpsons episode, like a page of each, and like what the funniest moments were, what the storyline was, all this and that, like quotes from each episode, you know.
I remember I had a sticker book.
I don't know what
at one point.
I don't know what series it went up to. We're talking like early 2000s, so
probably just past 10, isn't it?
10, 11ish, probably.
Yeah. So if it started in 89, yeah, you're looking...
The cracks started to appear.
Yeah, I mean, there is a point that most Simpsons, old school Simpsons fans point out as the point where it changed from classic Simpsons to new Simpsons. We'll get to that, obviously, throughout the...
So yeah, I started buying the DVDs when they became available, like in mid-2000s. I had like series 1 till... probably 9 or 10, and stop from there because, you know, the main critique for a lot of Simpsons fans is that it goes downhill after that.
Yeah, and we will get to that point. Obviously, there is a specific point that a lot of Simpsons fan pinpoint, a specific episode. We'll get to that episode.
Yeah, I think I know the one you're talking about.
But yeah, no spoilers for yet. But we will get to that episode eventually. But we're here today to talk about where it all began. Episode 1, the first episode. The Simpsons roasting on an open fire. Nice Christmas episode to begin.
I mean, it's quite a sadistic title if you think about it.
It is quite violent, isn't it?
Yeah. Obviously, it's not. It's meant to be chestnuts roasting on an open fire.
Like,
but if you think of it like,
if they actually, people roasting on an open fire. It's quite visceral, so to speak. But fun little fact to start off with this episode, by the way, little trivia fact, is this wasn't actually supposed to be episode 1.
Oh yes, I remember you saying
yes. This was supposed to come at a point throughout the series, the first series, obviously Christmas special. It would have been in and around the Christmas period. We will get to what traditionally is supposed to be episode number 1.
I do have a question then.
Yes.
In that case, when did this episode air?
It first aired on Fox in the United States on December the 17th.
Okay, so it did air at Christmas then. Okay, that's
so
1989.
1989, yeah.
89, right.
So it was actually aired around Christmas, but it wasn't supposed to be when the Simpsons TV show actually started. There were supposed to be several episodes before this point. But
interesting times in 1989.
Yeah, what was going on in the world?
All the Berlin Wall, Richard.
Yeah. So, little interesting fact that this wasn't actually supposed to be episode 1. We will get to episode 1 at some point during series 1. But for now, let's crack on and start with the opening scene where we see our Simpsons family driving down snowy roads, going to the Christmas pageant of Lisa and Bart. What do you make of the animation at this point, obviously?
I mean, throughout it's ropey, as we will get into. I mean, a lot of problems with the voices and... Yeah,
it's not quite
other things.
At this point, is it? I mean, it is The Simpsons, but it's not quite The Simpsons at this point, is it? It's very much its own unique entity in and of itself, I would say.
Who is the first character to say a line in The Simpsons?
Oh, that's a good trivia question.
I know the answer because I wrote it down.
You did? I didn't write that down. I'm going to say Marge. Slow down, Homer.
That is correct. Marge is the first person to utter a line in The Simpsons.
Ooh, careful, Homer.
Yeah, it's something like slow down.
Careful, Homer.
There you go. Something along those lines. So there you go. The first ever
Simpsons character to speak.
And they say it's a man's world. So yeah, we get to the pageant and we're going through. Obviously, it's a Christmas themed pageant, and it's we start off with learning about Santas around the world. And we get the what I've written down here as an overly sexual Lisa in this dance.
Yeah, slightly.
I mean, I don't know. This obviously
she dances with fire with no pants on.
Yeah, that's what I wrote down. She's got no underwear. Why does she have no underwear? I'm assuming that's to do with the animation.
There's a lot of animation problems. There's a lady without a nose in one scene. I mean, obviously the voices are very ropey in a lot of characters.
The animation is actually the reason why episode 1 is not episode 1. That's actually the reason for it, and it's quite prevalent throughout this entire first series. The quality of the animation, and by the time we get to what should be episode number 1, you will see that it's actually worse than the beginning of the series.
Okay.
It will be very obvious. But I was also going to point out with the fact of the fire, very much a 1989 thing. I'm pretty sure you wouldn't be able to get away with that health and safety these days in schools, children dancing with open flames.
No, I would imagine not, no.
So yeah, I thought that was quite interesting. And then you obviously get Bart's rendition of Jingle Bells.
Yeah, I mean, right from the off, they're pushing Bart as the star.
Yeah, he's very much the focal point.
Early on, yes.
Many people think that obviously he was the big focal point because he's very much supposed to be the embodiment of Matt Groening as a child during this period. So he was very much the focal point until they realised later on that I think they get a bigger reaction with Homer, and then Homer very much becomes the star.
Yeah, once they saw his voice out.
Yeah, They very much push him, and you'd probably say now he's probably very much the forefront of what The Simpsons is.
I mean, he's a massive part of this episode.
Yeah.
This is the very first episode, and he's probably gets more screen time than anyone else, would you say?
I'd say it revolves very much around him and his... Yeah.
So he's still a focal part, but I believe that very early on the show is aimed at kids, and obviously Bart's a child, so, you know...
They're using Homer as a plot device to move the plot forward more than, hey guys, pay attention to this guy. Yeah. But he's very human in this episode, I find, as well. Like, he's very...
Not very real problems in this episode.
Very real problems, yeah. We'll get to that, obviously, as we move forward. But yeah, it's a very different Homer than what you see later on, and now, very much. I mean, Homer's this very extraterrestrial, non-human character now. It's I'm not saying he's an alien, but it's very much you can't connect with. But this Homer you very much can connect with, I think. Anyway, we'll move on to back at the Simpsons house. The first time we see not 742 Evergreen Terrace at this point, by the way.
Oh.
The address famously jumps around quite a lot early on in the early series. It's not until much later on that it actually gets nailed down as 742 Evergreen Terrace. 742 Evergreen Terrace is actually the address of multiple houses, businesses, and everything at this point. We'll see in later episodes that there are certain businesses that are advertise themselves as 742 Evergreen Terrace.
Was this done by design?
No, I think it was just that they didn't think they needed a permanent address for, and it was just an address that he kept banding around.
Because the running joke is obviously they don't know where they're living.
The state that they live in. Yeah. I mean, they seem to have topographical features, like they have a canyon, they have deserts, they have forests. It's like the state is an everything state. Yeah, so we go to the family home, and they're decorating the house, and we get Marge writing a letter introducing many of the characters that we'll come to see in this episode and in future series. What did you think of this way of introducing the family through a letter and an internal monologue?
I thought it was interesting for a couple of reasons. You get explanation on the family pets, so you get Snowball 1 dies, and but we got with Snowball 2. So that's established early on that they have a cat,
and that it's the second cat as well.
It's the second one, yep. And then you get the line, Lisa gets straight A's, and Bart, well, we love Bart.
Mm-hmm.
So right away you get the impression that Lisa is very smart, and Bart is not very smart and possibly a troublemaker. I mean, you got that impression from the first scene anyway, but
it's a very neat way of introducing. Look, guys, this is the characters. This is what they're gonna be.
Yeah.
Set up to be.
Yeah, it's set up straight away.
Yeah. But Lisa, I find in the first series especially, and then maybe in the second as well, is a bit of a troublemaker herself as well. I mean, you don't see it so much in this episode. Maybe the dancing in the beginning shows that she has a little bit of a wild side, but there will be points where she's not above acting childish.
Right,
There'll be like face pulling and things like that, and yeah.
I mean, standard brother sister stuff.
Yeah, again, it's very normal, down to earth family, isn't it? So we then get introduced to Ned Flanders for the first time. I found it interesting that we get introduced to Ned Flanders before Grandpa.
Grandpa was in this episode, right?
He was in this episode. But you get introduced to Ned Flanders before Grandpa Simpson.
The only thing I've written down for Flanders is the Christmas lights. Is that the first?
That's the first time you see him, yeah.
That's the first time you see him.
Yeah.
Obviously got the not very nice looking Christmas lights in this scene. I don't have anything written down other than that.
Just hold your horses, son. Hey, Simpson!
What is it, Flanders?
Oh, do you think this looks okay?
Oh, Nita.
It's too bright.
It was very much setting him up as the Goody Two Shoes neighbour.
Two Shoes neighbour. Yeah.
Obviously early on, but you don't get so much of the religious stuff here. It's more just he seems to be able to succeed where Homer struggles more than anything. But yeah, I found it. I think throughout most of this series is like that as well. You get the episode with the RV. Is that later on in this series or series 2? I can't remember. But the episode with the RV where the Simpsons go camping. Remember?
Oh, right, yep.
Yeah, and you get it in that episode as well that he's very much a goody. But yeah, not much of the religious stuff. But I found it funny that he got introduced before a member of the family. Quite an important member of the family as well, I would say. But
he lives next door to them and Grandpa doesn't.
True. And then we wake up the next morning, going to start doing the Christmas shopping. Marge pulls out a whacking great jar of money from her hair.
Indeed.
How did her husband not notice that this was there? How long has she been keeping it there? Presumably they say that where have you hid it this year? Suggests that she's had it in her hair for a year.
She wasn't hiding it for that long amount of time, right? It's just for this scene.
Then where was she hiding it for the rest of the year then?
Beats me. I mean, obviously this is a cartoon and it's not real life.
Yeah, but they're making everything else quite realistic. So,
yeah,
you know,
we're establishing here the size of Marge's hair.
Yeah. So,
and she can hide stuff in it.
Now, was that she had this hairstyle for this reason? Because obviously we find out later on that she always used to wear it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She did what? I mean,
when she was younger, she did.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, in some scenes.
And then she said, "I'll even wear my hair up."
Mm.
And then she found, I could hide stuff in here.
Yeah, she's a thief, as we've seen in episodes later on.
Oh, yeah, very, very, very much. Did she utilise her hair?
Not in her.
She just accidentally had it on her.
Accidentally
didn't
has
she?
in her pocket, doesn't she?
Yeah. So, but yeah, I just found it funny that her husband didn't even comments on the size of the jar, but couldn't even notice that it was in his wife's hair. When was the last time they got physical, do you think? You like thinking about The Simpsons getting physical?
Really, to be honest, I'm sure there's a market for it, Richard, but
I'm
not one that
certain there's
not one that I'm interested in.
You don't find Marge attractive, no?
Not really.
No?
No.
I mean, obviously, besides Jessica Rabbit, what cartoon characters would you find attractive?
I don't know what it's got to do with the Simpsons podcast, mate. But
I'm just curious.
They're animals, mate. Cartoon
animals.
Cartoon characters in general.
Yeah, just in general.
I thought you were going to talk about.
I mean, we mentioned on our other
Lola
podcast
Bunny
before Lola Bunny.
Yeah.
Nala from the Lion King. Yeah.
Cartoon characters. I think there's anything like I think I particularly find attractive from.
No. Jessica Rabbit.
Jessica Rabbit.
I was going to say, yeah. About Leela from Futurama.
I mean, I don't know. I'm sure. I don't know if you look at them and go like, "Oh, that'd be nice," or some sort of fantasy or whatever. No, not really. I don't know. No. There's no one as what's the mother's name in Family Guy?
Lois.
Yeah, there's a few people that like her, isn't there?
So there's no cartoon characters that you thought like if they were in real life, like in Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh, in real life, they were real life. Yeah, I get it totally, but they're not. But yeah, I'll probably think of one when we leave.
Betty Boop.
Nah.
Fair enough. Okay, no worries. So then we move to Homer, introduced at the power plant for the first time. Obviously not the job that he would go on to have, safety inspector. I think he's just a lowly technician at this point in time. Yeah, the power plant looks very different, obviously, at this point. Animation, again, obviously, is a bit of an issue. As we see through Mr. Burns' old office layout. What do you think of Mr. Burns' old office?
I have nothing written down for this.
Okay, fair enough. So you want to cut that? Do you want me to get a picture up for you and show you?
I don't remember that at all.
No?
No.
You don't remember Mr. Burns' old office, no? Would you like me to get a picture up to show you?
If you want.
Yeah, I'll get something up and I'll show you.
I mean, it's not much different from what he's got it now. It's just a little bit smaller, isn't it?
Different. It's brighter as well.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have the big window in the back.
He's got the big bear there.
I mean, if you just scroll along, you'll see the difference between the two.
Right. Bear's moved as well. Oh, your phone has decided to stop.
Oh, it went to a GIF, that's why.
Oh, okay.
If you just go left and right, left and right, left and right,
well,
like that.
Right. Bear's moved. And it hasn't really moved that much. Yeah, it's a lot bigger than that. Yeah. He upgraded. More richer and richer.
I just think, yes, it gives you a different impression of Mr. Burns, I find. It's not as dark, it's not as overbearing.
Yeah, but obviously, as the quality of the animation improves.
Yeah, obviously, that's a point of it. I just thought it was again, Mr. Burns is very human-esque in this episode. It doesn't seem as, like, evil, you know. I mean, obviously they take away the bonus, the Christmas bonus.
Yes, they do.
But it's called a bonus for a reason. You're not entitled to it.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't make planning around a Christmas bonus.
But presumably he's getting his monthly fee, or
Gotta get his wages.
However they're paid, I don't know.
Yeah, but you know, it's just poor planning on the Simpsons part for me. You shouldn't plan your finances around a bonus. That's poor fiscal planning.
Yeah, totally. But they did have the Christmas money.
Yeah, but then she spends it all.
Yeah,
thinking, you know, at least we'll have Homer's bonus.
Mm-hmm.
And then Homer's there at the office going, no bonus. Oh, thank God for the Christmas money.
Yeah.
All of this could have been avoided with text messages.
Yeah. I
think we actually missed the scene.
Did we?
Yeah, they actually went to the mall first.
Oh, well, for the tattoo?
Yeah, and then Homer finds out about his bonus.
Right, okay.
So, so we get...
That's just quite cheap, actually.
Yeah, I thought that as well.
$15.95 I've got written down.
Inflation, 1989 money, innit?
Mm. Yes.
What do you make of the comedic factor of asking for his age and just accepting his word for it?
One mother, please.
Wait a minute. How old are you?
21, sir.
Get in a chair.
This guy who's hard up for money needs the money.
It's Christmas, isn't it? Everyone's planning around their bonuses, aren't they?
So
yeah,
I'm not getting a lot of action here in a tattoo parlour. Oh, this underage kid. Oh,
actually, a tattoo parlour in a mall. I don't know how. I mean, I know the mall's really big in the 80s and 90s, but I've never seen a tattoo parlour in one. Maybe they're different in America, maybe. But I mean, it's like that's the joke later on, isn't it? That when Lionel Hutz gets introduced, you know, that his law firm is based in a mall, in a shopping centre. Mm. So what's the quality of a tattoo parlour in a mall?
Yeah.
I mean, because malls cost a lot of money to rent in.
Would be more higher quality.
Yeah, you would have thought so, right?
Than a lawyer's.
But then, I guess it's, I don't know, just impressions, isn't it? I wouldn't get a tattoo from a mall. I wouldn't get a tattoo anyway, but, you know, never mind. And then we get back home and we find out that the Christmas money has all gone and they have no bonus either. And Homer lies for the very first time.
He says, let me be honest with you.
Yeah.
And then lies.
Yeah.
Despicable. Yeah. Despicable.
I guess this is what you get from a husband that doesn't realise that his wife has a jar in her hair for a year.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Obviously just doesn't care. The love is gone already.
I mean, I get the situation in terms of not being able to afford having the money for Christmas presents. I get that. That's a situation a lot of people will go through, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't he still get his monthly wage?
Yeah, well, this is what I was saying as well. That I'm guessing...
Doesn't he have a credit card?
I don't know. I don't think a lot of people had a credit card in the late 80s, did they? I mean, that was you needed to be pretty well off to have a credit card, I assume, by that point. I mean, they make a whole episode about it later on, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, this shows the pressure that people put under at Christmas as well. The stupid pressure, in a lot of ways, that people put under for Christmas in terms of being able to afford stuff.
Yes, that's what happens when you get kids as well, though, isn't it? That's the main thing. I mean, that's the whole thing, is that everyone always says, oh, it's not about you, it's about the kids. You want to make sure the kids have a good Christmas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Bart doesn't strike me as the kind of kid that would do well with no presents.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So then we get the scene where Homer says that he will go out and buy the gifts this year. Now, if this is something that Marge has always typically done, no questions asked about that, you know, why are you doing it? That's a bit weird. Well, hang on, what was going on there? Quite comical. And he obviously buys cheap presents. What about the presents? You happy to receive those presents? Would you want a squeaky toy for Christmas?
Buys a pork chop, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Precursor for what happens later.
I didn't even think about that.
Yep.
Ooh, well spotted. That flew completely under my radar.
He buys a pork chop for Maggie, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a dog pork chop.
Yeah, it's a dog toy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that completely flew under my radar there.
There you go.
Ooh. What's that? What is that? Is that Chekhov's pork chop? You know, introduce something.
I don't know if it's done deliberately, but I think it is a precursor to what happens later.
I didn't even think about that. We bump into Flanders again.
Yep.
And we have Todd. No Rod. Just Todd. And he's got a different voice, you know.
Yeah, there's a lot of characters in here that have different
voices. All
Ralph
over
is
the
different
place
as well. I'm sure there's other ones I'm forgetting. Ralph's got different voice. Barney's got different voice.
Barney's got different hair. Barney's blonde in this early series, and Moe's got black hair.
Indeed, and
same voice though.
The Savon looks completely different.
Yeah,
it's weird.
It does look very odd, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But what do you make of Barney with blonde hair?
Interesting choice.
Yeah.
Does his hair get darker as the show goes on?
Yeah, he gets brown eventually, doesn't he?
Yeah,
So,
I mean, that's what alcohol can do to you.
Dye your hair.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a warning for you there,
darker.
children. If you like your blonde hair, lay off the booze. We move on to Homer's Santa interview and training after Barney recommends that he becomes a Santa to pick up some extra money. We're in the first episode. We've already been introduced to 2 of Homer's many jobs. This is a theme, obviously, that carries on throughout The Simpsons, is that he seems to have a different job all the time.
Yep.
We have 2 in the first episode here.
Indeed.
Pretty impressive. There is an episode later on, obviously, where he goes on to list all the jobs that he's had.
Yep.
Not in order, but yeah.
You went to space?
Yeah.
Wait, you haven't been?
Yeah. Yeah. I live above a bowling alley and below another bowling alley. Wow. Yeah, just I found that interesting that obviously this was a theme that goes on throughout the show, and we're introduced to it here in the first episode. He has 2 jobs straight away.
And this is a reality for a lot of people.
Yeah, obviously.
All around the world, you know, have to have more than one job to pay the bills.
The thing that I question about it, though, is that obviously his job at the power plant seems like it's a 9 to 5. And he's at the shopping centre during the day being Santa.
Weekends?
Maybe? I don't know. I mean, Bart's there, so is it school holidays or it could be the weekend, I guess?
Could be school, yeah, maybe the weekend.
I'm not sure. I just found it. I was just wondering when he actually did this job, you know. He returns home after his first shift, and we're introduced to Patty and Selma for the first time. Obviously introduced to them earlier on when they make a phone call and you speak to them on the phone. They have the same voice because that is the actress's real voice. Patty and Selma is the actress's real voice. Marge is the voice that she puts on.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So obviously that voice is spot on right from the beginning because that is the actual actress's real voice. So yeah, Patty and Selma, pretty standard.
And their relationship with Homer is established straight away. Yeah, they don't like each other.
So there's a lot of groundwork put on in this first episode that would go on to obviously be paramount in the show, I would say. So
their relationship with Homer is not great.
Yeah.
Not great throughout the whole series. It's quite a strange situation. I don't know, it's completely strange. I mean, there's always families that don't like other people's spouses.
Blatant child abuse at this point, though. The strangling of Bart comes in a little bit later.
Okay,
so,
right, yeah.
In this episode specifically, and a lot in the early series, it is very much a father and son bonding kind of thing. I mean, a lot of the Tracy Ullman stuff is about Homer trying to make Bart feel better about things. Later episode when Bart gets accepted to the special school because he cheats, Homer's really trying to bond with him then. A lot of these early episodes is very father and son centric, I find. Again, I think that's probably a lot of the influence of Matt Groening.
Yeah,
Probably coming in on that. I mean, this was a show that was based around his family, not specifically, but you know, he took a lot of inspiration from his family, didn't he? But obviously he wanted to challenge the norms of the family sitcom that was big in America at the time, and he was like, well, families aren't really like this. And
Cosby Show, I guess.
Yeah. What was another one? Different Strokes, I'm guessing there's something like that. The Cosby Show is a big one, obviously, in the 80s, but these are shows that we obviously didn't get in the UK. So Homer leaves and he goes to cut down a tree. Stealing, yeah. I'm pretty sure that is against the law. And not very good for the environment either, but decides to cut one down rather than buying one. I'm assuming that's because all of the trees had gone by that point. This seems very close to Christmas by this point. So why don't they have a tree already?
Tree has a birdhouse in it.
It does, you're right.
I guess, most people would have their tree up right at the start of December, right?
But yeah, I was just thinking it seems very close to Christmas and they don't have a tree yet. But maybe that's just my biasm coming in, I don't know. So we move on to see for Homer's first day as Santa. Bart finds out about him straight away, and the bonus, obviously, why he's becoming that. What I want to know is, how does he not recognise his dad's voice when he's sitting on his lap?
Yeah, it's a bit strange, isn't it?
Hey, Santa, what's shaking, man?
What's your name, partner? Little partner?
Well, I'm Bart Simpson. Who the hell are you?
I'm Jolly Old Saint Nick.
Oh, yeah? We'll just see about that.
No!
Homer.
I want a word with you in Santa's workshop, little boy.
I mean, I'm pretty sure if my dad was just wearing a fake beard and a hat, I'd still be able to recognise him.
Yeah.
Especially as soon as he started talking.
And Homer gets a lot of money for being Santa.
$13?
$13.
$13 I have, yeah.
Yep.
That's
wow. Why even bother?
Yeah, it's
like, how many shifts did you just that one shift though? Is that his first shift? Like he gets caught on, I guess.
Maybe. I mean, you don't see him do a lot more
immediately, right?
I mean, how long did the training last? I mean, it takes a long time to learn ho. Yeah,
it's a very long, intensive process.
I mean, that's at least like 10 weeks training there, right? You know, got to learn to say ho, ho, ho.
Is that the first dough we get as well quite often, soon after that?
I don't know.
I've got a dough written down.
You have a dough written down?
So, I imagine one comes out.
We'll put that in here if there is a dough in the show. If there is one, then you'll hear it now.
Dough for show.
Well, they decide to go and gamble on the dogs, the greyhounds. That's what Barney's plan was all along. So they go to the racetrack. But before we see them at the racetrack, we go back to the house to meet Grandpa for the first time.
Oh, right.
And the happy little elves are on TV.
He loves that.
He does love it, yeah. And they save Christmas. Yay! Oh, no. The happy little elves save Christmas after Homer bets on Santa's little helper. They mention that Homer's still not home at that point. Patty and Selma don't seem to care.
No, of course they don't. They should have gone for Dog of War.
I was going to say, so...
Whirlwind, actually. Whirlwind wins.
So
I like the name Dog of War.
Which dog did Santa's little helper replace? Was it Sir Galahad? Was it Snowy? Was it Rabbit? Was it Whirlwind? Was it 2x2? Or was it Dog of War?
This is the
Santa's little helper replaced
trivia.
Yeah.
It's Dog of War.
Replaced Dog of War?
I've got it written down, so assume so.
Attention racing fans, we have a late scratch in the fourth race. Number 8, Sir Galahad will be replaced by Santa's Little Helper. Once again, Sir Galahad has been replaced by Santa's Little Helper.
Bart, did you hear that? What a name! Santa's Little Helper? It's a sign. It's an omen.
It's a coincidence, Dad.
So yeah, so he replaces Sir Galahad.
Yeah.
And it's actually Homer that gets excited by the name change, not Bart.
Oh, okay, right.
Bart seems to be the sensible one in this situation.
Yeah. Waylon Smithers working at the dog track, it sounds like.
Cirrhosis of the liver.
Sunday. Do you know what the odds were on Santa's Little Helper winning the race?
I don't know.
Well, I do because I've written down.
Okay.
It is 99-1, which is a fucking, excuse me for my language, steep bet.
What I find quite funny, though, is that Barney says he wins big. With a $13 bet on a 10-1, would he win that big?
No, he'd win $130.
Yeah, I was. That's what I was like. And he's driving away with like in a
girl and a nice car,
convertible,
yeah,
and everything like that. And I'm like, what? Yeah, on a 10-1
Did
bet?
he only bet $1 though?
I mean,
I'm assuming he bet more than $1.
Yeah, but it'll be the most he could bet is $13, right? Because he got the same amount of pay as Homer. Surely.
Ah, right. Yes, yeah.
So yeah, he'd win $130. No, he wouldn't even win that, would he? For every $10,
if
you'd get $1 back.
If you put $13 dollars on, he'd win.
So he'd on a 10-1.
No, 10-1, he'd win £10.
Yeah,
Plus,
for every $1 he put, or would it be?
Yeah, he'd win $130 if he bet 13.
Yeah. So he'd win $130, and that's what I'm saying. And then he's walking away with he's driving away in a convertible.
Yeah.
With a nice looking lady on his lap and everything, and I was like, hang on a minute, that's not very realistic, is it?
No.
We cut to Homer and Bart in the car park, trying to find winning
parking lot.
Car park. I'm not going to say parking lot. Come on, I'm not American. Trying to find winning tickets.
Yeah.
And
desperation setting in.
And Santa's Little Helper's owner kicks the dog out. Literally kicks the dog out of his employ.
No.
I'm pretty sure you could still sell a greyhound.
Yeah, that's not very clever, is it?
But that storyline does actually make a return in later series.
Okay.
When Santa's Little Helper actually becomes a really good greyhound racer, and the owner comes back. That owner comes back for him. And yeah, the fact that they didn't buy him comes up that the guy still owns him technically. So,
what season was that?
It's much later. I think. Yeah, we're talking in the teens.
Okay,
easily. Yeah.
So, which series was that?
Series, yeah. No, we're talking in the teens. It's probably high teens. It could even be 20s.
The 20s.
Yeah. I could. I lose track after a certain period of time. So. But yeah, so Homer is convinced to keep him by Bart, and then takes him back to the family, where Homer comes clean about his bonus money not coming in, not having any of the presents, having to have a job, going to the racing track.
Yep.
But before we can have any fallout from that, Santa's Little Helper comes running in, Bart saying, look what we got. And they ask what his name was. What does Homer say his name was?
Doesn't say Santa's Little Helper. No.
Number 8.
Santa's Little Helper is called the best Christmas present ever. It's because he's a dog.
Yeah, I disagree with that, by the way. I also think it's cruel introducing a dog into an environment where a cat already lives.
Ah, true. Yes, there is that.
It's a bit stressful for the cat. Poor thing. And obviously we see later on that the dog becomes the favoured pet, and the cat, who wants to pet the cat? What's the point?
Yeah.
And we close out, they all have a wonderful Christmas, and we close out with Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
They start singing that, and Bart and Lisa start singing some stuff over the top of it, which isn't funny.
It's very much a cliche of Christmas specials as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
The singing out of the episode. Thanks everybody for watching. Have a wonderful Christmas. Not something we really do on our Christmas specials.
Yeah, I mean, so would you say this first episode is still quite family friendly compared to what happens later on?
Yeah, it's very.
So there's no strangling going on here.
No, like I said, I think there comes a point. Again, there's a point where you can pinpoint where it starts to swivel away from being family friendly and more into like a satirical, adulty kind of cartoon.
Yeah, and
we'll get to that as well, obviously, when that specific point is. But yeah, there's no violence, there's no blood, there's no
man kicking a dog.
It's a man kicking a dog. Yeah, and actually in this series, I'm pretty sure it's this series we get either this series or series 2 we get a suicide attempt as well, don't we?
In what series, 1 or 2?
Yeah, Homer, safety Homer.
I remember, but we'll cover that. We'll
cover that. Yeah. What are your closing thoughts on this episode? What do you think? What do you make about it all? Anything else that we didn't talk about that you'd like to revisit?
Really, I mean, it's an enjoyable episode. Quite clear, concise story to follow. As I said, establishes characters and their traits early on.
I was surprised about how much groundwork was actually put in the very first episode. Like, all of the characters, I mean, Homer goes through a bit of an evolution, obviously, as we go forward. But other than that, everyone else seems pretty much the same character that they are going forward. Patty and Selma get fit into all this and how they feel. You put in the groundwork that Homer is someone that changes jobs a lot, and yeah, there's quite a lot in here that I was surprised.
A lot of important characters are introduced.
Core characters,
very core characters that obviously stick around.
I would say that there are very important characters coming up that haven't been introduced yet.
Hey.
Exactly. Yep. Chief Wiggum would be another one.
Yep.
For the early years, Troy McClure is obviously a very important character. Lionel Hutz shows up a lot. Do we see a Pooh in this first episode?
Oh, I haven't got him written down, so I don't think we do.
I didn't notice that we have him yet either. So obviously a very important character going forward, I would say as well. We obviously see Principal Skinner.
We do, yeah.
First off,
yeah.
But
big part of the story.
Very brief. I'm not sure whether they thought he was going to be a permanent fixture or not at this point, but yeah, all in all, a tame, watered down, safe kind of.
I think you get this a lot in the first 2 series.
I think there's obviously the network is a little bit nervous about putting a cartoon on in prime time, aren't they? I think they're a bit worried. So it's very safe. It doesn't really steer away a lot. They obviously start to take more risks, obviously, as it goes on. But yeah.
Changing world, certainly in the 90s, in the early 90s and the 90s.
Yeah, big culture shift, isn't there? Yeah. And that will be reflected, obviously, in the shows we go forward. But yeah, this is very much a product of its time, I think. But still, all right to watch. Not one that I would go back to and watch over and over again very often.
This is Christmas, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
It's on.
I think that the Christmas ones not so great. I think obviously the introduction of the Halloween specials is where
I mean, when I think of Christmas, I don't think of the Simpsons roasting on an open fire.
And,
I think
you shouldn't.
No, I think of the Snowman, Die Hard.
Yeah,
Home Alone.
Yeah,
I don't think the Simpsons.
No, it's not really one that lives long in the memory, is it? It's, yeah. I mean, like I said, it's good because it does introduce a lot of themes and characters, characterizations early on, which they obviously stick to for long periods of time. But yeah, story wise, not fantastic. Entertainment, it's good enough, but yeah, definitely not one that I'd revisit. So yeah, marks out of 10. What do you reckon you'd give it?
Probably a 6 or 7.
Okay, higher than me. I have it very much in an average 5, very much kind of in the middle. Not the worst, but definitely by no means the best.
Debut of Santa's Little Helper pushes up a little bit.
For you, yeah.
For me,
I'm not such a big
like
fan
dogs.
of dogs, so I don't really care. I don't think we saw enough of Snowball 2, personally.
Oh, right.
Very, very brief introduction, and that was it. You know, oh, yeah, our old cat died. We got a new one. Here we go, yeah.
I mean, Snowball 2 in general doesn't get a lot of time
No.
in the show's whole series. It's always about Santa's Little Helper.
Damn dog. It gets way
the
more.
dog gets a lot more attention, which is cool with me.
I think
I like both. I like dogs and cats, but yeah.
I think there's only 2 instances where I can think of an actual storyline revolving around Snowball. The first one is the Halloween special, where they tried to bring Snowball back to life.
Pet Cemetery
one, yeah. Even though you don't really see the cat in that, but it's a driving factor of the story. And then the other one is a much later one, where Lisa keeps killing cats.
Wow, this turns dark.
It's a much later episode.
It's by accident, I assume?
Yeah, she keeps having accidents with the cats, and they keep dying, and she ends up on like Snowball 12 or something like that. And then right at the end, she's like, I'll just call you Snowball 2 and pretend all of this never happened. And then Principal Skinner comes along. And
this is some sort of joke about that episode that we both know what we're thinking about. Yeah.
So, the cat doesn't get a lot of story time, and I think that's quite criminal. Had the cat been better introduced in this episode, maybe introduced to Santa's Little Helper at a later date, then it will score higher for me.
Dogs are more lovable, I'm afraid.
I think the thing is it completes the nucleus of the family as well, doesn't it? So, but well, that was our first episode into the foray of The Simpsons. Hopefully, you've enjoyed what you've listened to. We hope that you tune in again to our next episode. Anything else you want to say, Tom?
In my shorts.
That's all, Springdon. There will be no encores.
Every time I learn something new, it pushes some old stuff out of my brain.
Este video ha sido una producción de Rich T Entertainment. Para más shows geniales como este, no te olvides de dar clic en el link que aparece aquí para visitar todos los canales de YouTube. También puedes ver este video que sugerimos para ti. Muchas gracias. No te olvides de dar like y suscribirte para más contenido como este.